Alrighty.
Okay.
We're back.
Okay, we're back. So now we'll go to our third movie, and that will be on.
Yeah. Okay. I apologize because this is a movie that's a Basque film based on Basque folklore, made by Basque people. So I am using a Spanish pronunciation for everything.
And now we're going to bask in it.
And what is the Basque thing?
Well, the Basque region is the
it's a
area
region.
between
Yeah.
France and Spain.
Yeah.
Up in the mountains,
Right.
but they're very proud and independent people. So it's like, that's why I sort of apologize now. But the film is called Errementari. I hope it's pronounced that way. The Devil and the Blacksmith.
Letzerik bai zerek ekar zaitun, ergoion honetara?
Alfredo Ortiz nozue. Diputazioko komisarioa. Kontu bat ikertzen ari naiz. Nola heldu naiteke errementeriara?
Garbitokira heltzean hartu egizu, eskerretara don bidea. Gero segi errekari, basoan ondotik. Baina asti ibili. Toki hartan deabroa bizi da.
Usu eduka. Errementariak usu eduka. Eta deabrua ere han son.
This is based on Basque folklore, which oddly enough was collected by a priest, of all things, yet makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Though sometimes I wonder if he manipulated it because he was a Catholic priest on top of it.
Well, there you go.
Whether he involved his religion into the story as well. It is directed by Paul Urquijo Alijo, but most importantly, it was written by him and someone by the name of Asier Guerrica Echevarria, or Echevarria. And the screenplay, I think, is amazing of taking the story, which is the classic good and evil story. You have a man, you see three people about to be executed. And then, for some reason, one is not dead. You see everyone sort of running and screaming, and then all of a sudden you see a pitchfork with a figure, of course, with the horns and a tail waving around. Then it cuts to the time where they start telling the story, which involves this family in the Basque, but especially centers around a young girl who, because of symbology, you know must be completely evil. You see her on a picnic. First of all, she's stolen the wine that they use for, what is the Catholic?
Communion?
It's a communion wine?
Right.
Is that what's, okay, the communion wine. She's stolen that. She's on a picnic. She's cutting into an apple, and then, of course, a serpent appears.
Yeah, that's symbology.
Exactly. This is like ultimate. So you think, okay, we know sort of how this girl is, because she should actually be in church with her sort of, her, not so much her family, but all the people around her. But then a government official appears to the villagers and says he needs to see this person who is the name of who is basically the blacksmith. They say, well, he's a hermit. He doesn't see anyone. He's very strange. Stay away from me. He says, no, I have to, because I have to talk to him about something. So he convinces several people to go up there. And unfortunately, because a series of events, that an accident happens, most of the villagers return except for one, and they said, oh, he killed him. This guy killed him. Well, the young girl who is sort of teased, I think, by her cousin, because she sort of lives with her aunt and uncle. That
Her name is Usue. Right?
Usue, right?
Yeah.
Usue is the young girl, and then who basically is bullied by these young boys. And they take her doll, they tear off the head, and then they throw the doll's body into the yard of the blacksmith. Of course, she just wants her doll back, as I'm sure any young girl can identify with that. Which then starts leading an odd little story, which I don't want to reveal too much. Though I think the title alone, The Devil and the Blacksmith, sort of explains it all. Because at one point, she goes to get her doll. She ends up in the house with the blacksmith. Her young cousin then thinks she's now been kidnapped and possibly killed by the blacksmith, which leads the villagers to go with the official from the government to go back and decide, we need justice. We need to find out what's going on. This, to me, was a fascinating sort of folk tale about good and evil on its basis level. What I thought was fascinating, though, something, again, what I think is in Catholic dogma, is the sort of forgiveness, or the fact that you're not, your soul might be condemned because you did everything signal, but you can redeem yourself somehow. And you see it on a level that is so strange, because you actually see the young girl redeem herself in a way, the blacksmith redeem himself away, and oddly enough, a demon redeem himself in a certain way. And that's why I don't want to reveal too much, because I think the story is sort of fascinating. And I thought, as everything starts to unveil, because I will say this now to you, spoiler alert, there is a real demon that the blacksmith is holding hostage, because he apparently is the person at the beginning of the film who was supposed to be executed, but made a deal with the devil or the demon, and the demon is there to collect his soul, but the blacksmith is like, no, I'm not giving you a soul. I'm going to find a loophole in this. And he does in a certain way, which again, a part of the thing is they're looking for the reason the government official's there is he knows there was gold with the shipment of those soldiers who executed him. It has not been found, and they think the blacksmith has it. So again, it's such an odd but wonderful film. It is a foreign language film, but I watched it on Netflix. And they do have an English soundtrack, so that'll be nice for people who do not want to listen to it in a foreign language. But it's the legends, it's the little things that make this movie. For example, how you torture a demon. Exactly. See, it's making you laugh already. There is, like Lost Boys, several points of humor. In fact, I think the ending of this is, again, another wonderful, ironic look about how funny things can be when you understand or try to break the rules and you know how to torture a demon. So I highly recommend this movie. I don't think it's a great film by any means, but like we were talking about Guillermo del Toro, it really sort of echoes that kind of feel of what he does.
Yes.
So I highly recommend this one for Halloween, because it does, in my opinion, have genuine scares, but I really think it's a fascinating look at that dogma of good and evil, especially from the Catholic point of view.
Yes.
Yeah.
Me? Yeah, I love the movie. I really enjoyed it. I like the cinematography. I like the color. They desaturated it a bit, so it's very eerie. The whole point of the folklore and like you said, that, you know, we only think of things like, you know, evil, good and bad, and this is going to happen to me. But when you go into those ancient times, they have almost recipes to how to fight this, how to do that. They're almost not scared of evil or demons, because they know how to fight them too. So they don't see them as like, if one pops up, they're not scared of them. They're like, okay, I have to do this now. So, but in this thing I found out about this movie is that the tale was collected by Gambista Basil in the Locunto de Il Cunti in 1634. Then the Brothers Grimm, in their children's and households or tales, I think it's called children's tales. Again, the Brothers Grimm had this story in their books in 1812 and 1815, and then they took it off in 1822 and added a different one, substituted one called Brother Lustig, and so it was also the story, but it still has been done in a different, you know, there's a German one, there's obviously Basque, and so all those ancient things have done. Though there's a Russian version too. Now, according to research, applying phylogenetic techniques to linguistics by folklorists, and basically that what that is let me see if I find out what it is. It's basically they use a language and find out, but based on what they're saying, figure out the time period and if this was said at certain times. They say that this story, if I can book it's maybe one of the oldest European folk tales. So basically, they go as far as it was first told in Indo-European in 6,000 years ago in the Bronze Age.
Wow.
They might go that far back. I think.
Wow.
So it's very interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoyed it. It kind of took me back to when I was a kid in my country and all those tales my grandparents told me and all that. I was like, damn. So it was almost like that could have been one of those tales they told me, and I'd be like, so yeah, I enjoyed it. It was great.
Daddy.
This movie reminded me totally of a Twilight Zone where a guy gets lost and he enters a monastery. Do you remember that one?
Oh,
and
yes.
they tell him not to open
The door.
the door because not to open the door because he doesn't say the devil, but he infers that it's the devil, and the devil looks like an ordinary guy,
Right.
And he lets him out, of course, because the guy's talking to him, and he thinks all the monks are crazy, but for some reason this movie totally. That to me was the same story in an odd way.
What was the movie again?
Well,
It's a Twilight
it's
Zone.
a Twilight
Zone.
Zone.
Yeah.
It's one of the better ones.
Yes.
And the devil in that one was
Yes,
good too.
exactly.
I thought a little girl on until you told me. I had no idea she was evil because it goes against the rules. Children can't be evil
Right,
unless they have
exactly.
lost their innocence. That's the rule.
I don't think they can lose their
but also what they
innocence.
do in the movies, there's something that happens in her family that the church has some rules that you cannot go to heaven if this is done.
Right.
Yeah.
Things like what's they like suicide or whatever.
Right,
Those
right.
things will not get you into heaven, and so it's almost proving that. That's what you think, but
Yeah,
it's kind of showing you that too in the movie.
Yeah, it shows the in between. Yeah. That's what I thought. I thought it was I won't say a joke. It was a satire bit on the Catholic Church and the beliefs, like you have to believe this and this and this,
Right.
but which is all man-made. I don't remember God saying this, right, or telling any one person. So it's super Catholic. That's the only way. But if you're a Catholic, a believing Catholic, I think it would offend a lot of people, which is why you should see it, because it kind of throws back at you what your beliefs are and why you believe those things. But I'm more shocked that the girl was evil, the little girl. I never thought of her as evil at all.
Well, that's the funny thing, because what George
I
just
think
hit on the
it's
button,
evil.
because I don't think it has to do with, like you said,
That she was really evil.
this will not give away.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I don't think she was real evil, because like you said, there's innocence to her quote unquote evil. It's just that all the symbology is there right
Absolutely.
at the beginning. What's funny is that, like George has said, I don't think it's a spoiler, that's why she's on her own. She's an orphan. Her mother committed suicide.
Right.
So that's why I think she sort of resents the church, because she's always told her mother's probably burning in hell because
Right.
she killed herself,
Yes.
right? So she's saying, I'm not going to believe in that because my mother loved me. Or in her
She should
mind,
be
she's
right.
saying that because she was literally a true infant when her mother
Yeah.
died. But as the story goes along, you learn more and more about her, and that's what makes the story more fascinating to me.
funny-
And yet, like you said about the not wanting the church, not doing the church, and then almost becoming the symbol of what God and the church will be. It's, again, so wonderful.
I don't think there's like a spoiler alert because
No.
it's pretty predictable what's going to happen. I mean, do you know what I mean? It follows a certain genre.
Yeah, but there's certain spoilers because you have to find out where the girl comes from.
Why- yeah,
Where
all
the
the
Errementari comes from, the Reo.
And I don't think it's a scary movie.
No,
I
not at all.
don't even know what
No.
genre I'd put it in. It's not a fairy tale.
No, as I said, it is
They
sort of a
should
fairy
have
tale.
another
It's a
genre.
folk tale, but it is
Folktale. Yeah, that
but
makes
it is like just a typical
A
sort of
dark
drama.
a drama
Yeah.
of what's going to happen. But yet, literally, like you said, it just is so weird because of the Catholic aspect of the movie.
Yeah.
And I don't know if people will find it offensive or not, because, like I said, I thought it was fascinating because priests seem to be the heroes in the movie. Yet at the beginning, when the person's executed, he's giving the last rites. That you see a priest get killed by
right.
this demon. It's like, okay, see, it is about good and evil. You know, the demon literally is killing a priest who's really sort of innocent.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, I didn't see it as a negative on the church at all. I didn't see
I
it that
didn't
way
think
at
so
all.
either. Yeah.
You know, it's not often that I see a movie in the Basque language. I think it's probably my first one.
Mine first
Me
one
too.
too. Yeah.
That alone made me kind of interested in it. Like,
Right.
what's it going to be like? Right? It is definitely in the Hans Christian Andersen Grimm's
Yes.
fairy
Mhm.
tale.
Yes.
Maybe a little more on the folklore side
Right.
than it's dark. It's dark, but it's interesting.
Yeah,
You know, but you also feel like it's from a different time.
absolutely.
You know, and you are. The girl is an orphan. I thought that it was really almost like a positive, like in a way that I can't go into the ending of it, but you know, everybody is resolved in some way.
Right.
Yes,
Like I
yes.
said, the redemption factor
Yeah.
is there. It's
Yeah,
there.
And also one more thing too is, without spoiling it too, the evil things are not necessarily evil.
No.
And the good things are not necessarily
Exactly.
good either.
Yeah,
No, that's
yeah.
exactly.
Everything's
exactly.
great.
That's what I
Everything's
said.
great.
That's why I think it's sort of fascinating. That's exactly why I enjoyed it. Exactly.
Yeah, and I thought, I also think that the point that you were making, I think that in the past, I mean, way in the past, good and evil was much more present in life than it is to us.
Right.
In other words, like what I mean is like people would, you know, like that's happening because you did this and the devil is now onto you, and that would be not like a bad statement.
Right.
If you said it now, people are like, what? Right? So I think it's more from that time when the worlds were more together, good and evil,
Right.
you
The
know,
sort of the-
hell and
Superpower.
earth. Yeah.
No, the sort of the yin and the yang.
Yeah,
That,
yeah.
Yes, you need light, but you also need the
Yeah,
dark. It
yes.
sort of
Yeah, and it's
coexists.
also
Yeah.
Absolutely.
kind of like the Tom Robbins book. What was it that things exist because we think about them, but the minute we don't think about them anymore,
Are they there?
Do they exist anymore?
they
Those
disappear.
Isn't
ideas.
that the
Yeah.
quantum physics thing?
Yeah, it
Is
was,
like the
But
Schroeder's
remember that Tanuki,
cat?
what was the book?
Oh yes, it's that the last book Tim Robbins wrote.
What
I
was it?
think.
Something dance.
I bought it. I read it.
Jitterbug,
It's
something
about-
Jitterbug perfume. Wasn't it?
No, that's way back.
Yeah.
This was
That's a great title.
Yeah, it was the last one he wrote.
Anyways, but
wow.
but it goes into those ideas that like you
was
in
about
ancient,
missing in action
ancient time
people or
we
something.
we think more about they were more present, but we were in our conscious more.
Right.
Yes.
But so we made it make sense because they're in the conscious too.
Right.
As opposed to now that we're so many.
Well, now we call it the subconscious.
Now we have the God.
We don't call it
Now we have the
evil.
gods
We
and
call
demons
it-
of the selfie.
We have ids and animas, but we, you know,
Oh.
before they were just all demons.
Now we just call
It was so
it
much simpler back then.
we just call it politics now.
Yeah, exactly.
I knew somebody was going to go there.
Okay, but there's one thing that I don't know that I should say that I think makes it really interesting.
No, you
Well,
should.
say it.
And that's
Yeah, yeah.
kind of like when she meets the
Devil?
The demon?
devil,
The
although
demon?
this
The demon.
Yes, but
Right,
she
yeah.
at that time doesn't know that.
No,
Yeah,
no, no.
right.
Because
Yes.
he isn't there. The blacksmith isn't
right.
there, and
Right.
she just walks into this room, and there's this boy in a cage.
Right.
Kind of a 14, 15
Same age as her,
year-old boy.
basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
In a cage, and he's like, let me out of here. You
He's
know,
crazy.
like,
He's crazy.
Yeah, he's
He-
crazy.
yeah.
Let me out of here. And so this is also an interesting idea about evil.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, so it's a fight between good and evil, but with a happy. There's no losers.
But there's also
in this.
there's no unlikable character.
Yes,
You got
yes.
good and evil, but there's no unlikable character.
But the devil always makes a pleasing appearance.
Now remember, the thing I had to remember is he's not the devil. He's a demon.
He's a demon. Right.
Right.
He's-
Right. They clarify
Who's
that.
screwed up?
He's sort of a foot soldier,
Yeah.
like who said who's supposed to take the blacksmith's soul because that's why the
That was
blacksmith.
the
And he's
deal.
low down on the
Right.
rung.
Yes.
Yeah, he got foiled.
Yeah.
But no, I actually agree with that because that's exactly what Patty said about the Twilight Zone story.
Yes.
That evil, according to most Catholics, that's what the devil or evil does. Like the serpent in the Garden of Eden, it tries to convince you to act a bad way.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's why I think this is fascinating because when you get to the end, it's like there's a redemption even for evil itself in a way, and it's the weirdest thing in the world, especially the fact that a priest, right, who's the ethnologist, or what do they call it, who looked up culture and collected these folklore stories.
Right.
Yes.
And like I said, I don't know if he used his
exactly.
influence to do that, but it's like, this is like taking what good and evil is and saying, maybe there's that in everyone,
Well,
right?
I
And
think,
it's like how you live your life is how you're
I think
going
when you
to
get to a
determine what
level,
you be.
also like even priests or whatever, you become a scholar.
well,
Yeah,
they are
you
would
scholars.
take everything,
The Jesuit priests.
Well, he definitely was because he's an anthropologist,
Yes.
an ethnologist.
So you take everything.
Yeah, and a priest.
You're not blocked off. There's no wall.
The Jesuit priests are one of the most educated
Exactly.
entities in the world. They know about every religion. They're teachers. They're professors. Right. That's what they. I mean.
Well, they
if you-
can't do anything else.
If you, well, I don't know. They're just really quite amazing.
They are scholars. They're
Yeah,
true
yeah.
scholars. Yeah.
And so there's a really, that kind of reminds me, like within that society, right? Like, and we're going back into that society. We're talking about the movie.
Right.
They were actually very well educated. It's kind of like the Masons in the Dark Ages.
Yeah.
And the Masons became the Masons because they were doing math. And they, of course, they were developing their logical mind. At the same time, you got all this stuff going on, like, and they're like, that doesn't make any sense. So they would have their own. They had these societies.
Well, like Galileo, basically.
Yeah, it's like, how can we can't stop our brain from making sense,
Right. And
but we can't say it.
and possibly getting executed by the church.
Exactly.
So, what's
So-
our ratings?
Okay, so I'm going to give this movie a 9. I liked it a lot.
No, me?
Sure.
I really enjoyed it. So I'll give it a 10. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, wow. It's like, I gave it a 7. I mean, I thought this was just a
So
good...
stingy.
Well, Stingy's coming up again.
Okay,
7.
Mrs. Stingy.
Yeah, I was going for a 6, but 7 sounds right because there was a lot of thought put into it.
Okay.
What did you say?
I said I give it 9.
Yeah.
And I love those, those ancient languages. It sounds so nice. It's like Pan's Labyrinth. The old Spanish. Anyways,
Yes.
we'll be back.
Well, where's the baseball bat?
We'll be back.